Alright, hey, this is Stupid Ninja Man with DinosaurWithRobot.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do basic modeling in wings. As you can see, I have mine set up. I'm going to show you how to do this rather quickly. That way, let's just fit it. Okay, so this is probably what your window looks like, I think. I don't really recall. I've had mine set up the way I have it set up forever. Okay, to get those little windows I had, you'll go on the toolbar and select the window menu, the window drop-down menu, and you'll want to open up Outliner and Geometry Graph. Those are the two most important. Outliner is materials, Geometry Graph is, geometry. There's Palette, which is vertex colors, like if I wanted to, say, put down a gear, I suppose. And pretty sure that's how you do it. Huh. Nah, that's totally what it's for. There's no way. What? Yeah. Okay, you double click it. Sorry, you don't click and drag. And that sets up the vertex color to be whatever on the palette you selected. Most of them, I mean, they start like that. But then, say you wanted, orange or whatever. This is useful if you aren't planning on texturing and you want to give it like a base representation. This way you can go like, select this face, make it blue, select this face and make it red. You can also do this to a basic UV layout, sort of, so you can separate by materials and help you out in the end game. There's also Tweak Palette, which brings up the things that will come up if you start using tweak mode, but for basic modeling, which is what I'm assuming you're doing if you're watching a first time user tutorial, you probably won't be using the tweaked palette. New geometry window opens up another one of these geometry windows. Let's go ahead and like shrink this one, fit horizontally. Okay, and then so you have it. It's useful if you ever use like, what's it? Wow, this song's getting intense. If you've ever used maybe Hammer for mapping. I'm gonna turn off this music for a second, or switch songs. Because Hammer has 4 like geometry window style things natively, and so you can set them up to like be X. Let's make a cube. Okay, that way you can have if you have a larger screen than I'm showing, you can set up 3 or 4 windows and have like a few 2D views and then a 3D view, so that makes editing a lot easier. It's really useful actually. If you're going to be doing something where you're going to need multiple views open at the same time. Most native modeling programs have that set up like that natively, but this one doesn't. You can if you want. UV editor window is like if you're setting up a UV map, it'll come up automatically once you're using UV, so there's not really a reason to have it open. So let's set it up. Just like drag this one in, just to wherever. Open up a outliner and a geometry graph. All right, outliner, it won't need to be as big as the geometry graph. Geometry graph needs to be a decent size depending on how many models you're going to be making on the single file. I tend to make a lot with very few materials, since I try to make my things share materials as often as possible. So this is usually my menu setup, roughly. When I'm modeling, not for tutorial, my window's bigger, because that way I can do more. Alright, so now that you have your thing set up, let's get comfortable with the interface. This is obviously open, save, back and forward. Let's open up. Okay. This is Vertex selection mode, and so you can select single vertexes or select multiple vertexes or vertices. I'm just gonna turn off the music. It's useful. It's one of the, I mean, all the modes are useful. All the selection modes. But, yeah. And each selection mode has context-sensitive menus. Like, Vertex has deform, which none of the rest of them have. And you can do, things with it. I don't know. It's useful in some cases. So that's cool. You can use it to, deform things. This is, let's put up a cube. This is edge selection mode. You select the edges. It's pretty basic. You'll be using this a lot for like hard edges and things like that. Hardness, hard, and then see how it's smooth and that's hard. Yeah, basically that's mostly what you use it for. There are a few other reasons. I mean, if you're say wanting to select both of these vertices at the same time, they have this edge in common. You select the edge, then you go to vertex mode, and you have both the vertices selected. It makes certain things easier. You can, yeah, you'll be using it. This is face selection mode. You get it'll allow you to select faces. You can move them, do whatever. Face selection mode has a few unique things like mirror or bridge. I don't have anything to bridge it to, so I'm not going to do it. But also has I think edge. No, edge is not extract. It just has extrude. Like how edges has circularize, which is useful if your thing isn't a perfect circular object. And then there's whole selection mode where it just selects the whole thing, and I think it's called whole selection mode. It's just body selection. But yeah, okay. Then right here is your preferences. It lets you edit your stuff. Like say you don't like having a black background. I've noticed, or dark gray background. I've noticed some people have like some rather weird colors when they post screenshots of wings, and this is how you do it. And then this is smooth shading. It's useful to get like an in-game idea, show how all that stuff's gonna look. Then there's orthogonal view, and it's basically 2D. That way you can, it helps you modify things, from a two-dimensional view. That way you can, like if you use like image reference, that's the best way to do it. I work mostly in 2D view when I'm doing small details, or if I'm working in any of the what is this called? When my view's flat against the planes. This is the grid ground plane. You don't necessarily need it, but it's helpful, so you can get a sense of scale. And this is the axes. There's a little one right here, and I believe in 3ds Max they call it like a gizmo or something like that. This will help you get your bearings, but it's especially useful when you're starting out. You can get the y-axis, x, and z, so like if you're doing a let's say I had a sphere open and I wanted to extrude this way, and I haven't got a good sense of direction in this program yet. You can extrude and then look and say, okay, that's along the x, and go along the x. It's useful. I don't use them. I don't really know why. I just stopped one day and just kept going. Just generic file, edit, view, edit, mostly edit, undo, redo kind of thing. My mouse is kind of ghetto. I need to get a new one. You can edit your theme or whatever. View has a bunch of, basically a lot of what these buttons do, and then some more in-depth ones like, let's open up a torus knot. Alright, so you have a torus knot, and say you go to view, you can open it, you can use different shaders to render your model. Mostly these are, a lot of people like to show their things off in Toon. I notice a lot of starters are people starting out that when they're exploring, they discover this chrome looking one, and they like to use it quite a bit. It's really not useful, except for it's good. It's actually good for showing not the layout of a model, but let's switch it back. Let's switch my shaders back to normal. There's a few more. They're not terribly useful, but select is most of the things. You can also so you had this. You can select adjacent edges, which is the same as just selecting edges after having a vertex selected, or like face mode or something like that. Tools. I've never used a virtual mirror, but I've seen it. But I tried it, and it does, have its uses. I'm not sure what bounding box is. I don't ever use it. Default axis. That's like if you're going to be constantly using, like, say I was going to constantly be stretching along an axis created by these two, and I didn't want to have to keep, or maybe it's the default axis between these two vertices. Yeah, and I didn't want to keep selecting it every time I did it. That's how you do it. Not all that useful. Windows is, I already showed you that. Help is, help dialogues. So that's, the basic interface. There's all these are just basic geometry to start out with. Most models will be a cube or a cylinder to start with. You right click to bring up this dialog, and basically that'll be what most of your stuff start out with. Text has its uses, things like that. There are uses for some of these other ones, but you like especially image plane. That's how you get up a reference thing. Let me see if I have any references available. Okay, like this. That's how you set up reference planes, which is, incredibly useful for starting modeling. For the first about year of my modeling career, I used reference planes, nearly like solely. That's all I did, pretty much. When you're working from reference plane, you want to be in orthogonal view, and like not cone. What is that cone? I'm a cube. Make sure you have it set back to a little bit, and then I'm not really showing you how to use the reference plane right now. I mean, if there's interest in it, I'll show you how, but it's pretty easy to grasp by yourself. Yeah. I've modeled this for like literally a dozen. No, not literally a dozen times. Maybe 5 or 6 times, for various reasons. Never released it though. I really wish I have. Because a few of them are cool. But this is really where orthogonal view shows it shines and shows its strengths. Yeah. And if you're just starting out modeling, I probably shouldn't be suggesting this is how you do it, but this is how you should do it. That's how you should learn. Just get your bearings. That's awful, but I'm not trying to actually do it. When I do the, if I do a reference plane modeling tutorial, which I was planning on it, just show you how I got my start. It'll be, in depth. Let's see. No, it's not. Oh. Delete. Yes. Okay, let's say you wanted a cylinder, but you don't want this monster of a 16 side they start you with. You'll go, like right here, you can right click it and bring up an option dialog, and bring up, maybe you wanted a 6-sided cylinder. I often will do 5. not 85 because that's a lot of polys, but not 54 either. I don't. My fingers are apparently fat. And then you can also modify these other variables. Not necessary, but you can. That way it can start right there. Yeah. Cube, it'll just be size. I'm not sure what it'd be on dodecahedron. Okay, things like edge lengths, because they're, yeah. Cones have diameters and. Oh yeah, you can do it with the cylinder too. There's 2 diameters, and you put, like, say you wanted a tapered cone. You got a tapered cone. Whoa. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I'm just modifying one diameter rather than. I thought I was doing it like. I thought I was gonna do something like this. I should have paid attention to what I was doing. Most of it's really easy to work your way through these dialogues. They, pretty self-explanatory, like text. Let's make it 5. Okay, it's creating. I think it's creating. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Ooh, not responding. Let's hope it doesn't crash. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty easy to do. If it doesn't crash, I'll show you what the little icons on the side of the item on a geometry graph stand for. If it does crash, you'll have to give me a second to reopen it. And gosh, yeah, it crashed. Well, actually, let's see there. Thing. It's not saying it's crashed. See, it's not. Hasn't crashed. This is a console that opens with its. I have no idea what its uses are, but I've never tried to figure out what it does. You can change its font. If you X out the Wings 3D and makes it, useful for that purpose. Whoa. No, get off. You're not supposed to be on top. Okay. That's how you do. That's how you mess things up. Tube is cylinder with a hole. So let's say this is a cube, or this is obviously a cube. There's not any debating that. Why won't it let me move it? Move along. What the hell? Move along the Y. Okay, that was weird. Okay, so here's cube. These 3 icons. This turns on wireframe mode, which in a non-shaded view just creates a literal wireframe. You can see through it. You can't see back faces, however. I don't recall if that's supposed to be like that. I think it is. But shaded, it shows the model with a wireframe on top of it, which is quite useful for showing like renders or things like that. This is, it locks the model. And that way you can modify something either on it or near it, or use it as a reference without editing it. Like, see, if I did that on when the top one wasn't locked, it would go like this and select both. And then if you do that, you can still deselect it, but it's just easier not to mess with it. And then visibility, it just hides the model. You can, there's dialogues in the things like create folder. Let's say I wanted cubes, cube, duplicate, free, bunch of cubes, and then I can close out, create folder, cylinders, cylinder. That way you can, modify them separately. Especially if you have a lot of models going on, it makes it so much easier to have folders. It's kind of like, folders in Photoshop. Makes things useful. You can also, Oh, also, see how I did that? You right-click on it, and it'll do it'll do whatever that action is on all of them but the thing selected. Like visibility. Only one that key will be visible, or that cylinder will be visible. Which is useful if you're going to just be modifying one thing. But once you do it again, it opens up all of them again. So if you didn't have them open, if you had like all but like 3 closed, and then you want to do it, it'll open them up again. It kind of isn't all that terribly useful, but it's good if you're gonna, if you want to limit the amount of clicks you use. You can also, delete and stuff like that. The material thing is quite easy to use. Like you can. It's just my suggestion is just go through and mess with things, figure out how they work and what they do. And that way you can create a material. I think you actually right click out here. Yeah, right click material. Name this one red, not RD. Diffuse red. Turn off the ambient light. Lower the specular. Raise the emissions? No, lower the emissions. My mouse. Something about HP mouses, they like degrade over time to an insane level of just like crappiness. And they'll start double clicking and triple clicking and doing all these things without your permission. Oh, it's my shininess is way up. Nope. And you turn on your opacity and stuff. That's cool. I'm honestly not sure why this material looks so off. Yeah, see? I mean, yeah. And you can't delete a material when it's assigned to an object. You can't delete an image when it's assigned to a material. Blah blah blah. This is a basic layout of wings. I may create a follow-up showing you basic things like extrude, extract, basic tools you'll need to use if you want to model well. Just to help you get your footing. But honestly, the best way to learn is to toy with it yourself and figure out how you would do it. Sombrero plane. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to? I'm going to teach you some hotkeys. Like, say you had a cube, hitting S will do smooth, and depending on your hard edges, it'll, create, this one. If you smooth a just cube, it makes a kind of cuboidal sphere. There's a few other. Smooth is used a lot by beginners. You can also do it here, like the Do-Sabin subdivision. There was one guy back in the day that he used this really pretentiously, like all the time, and that was just that was like his trademark, the way he smoothed. Yeah, you can find the hotkeys in your preferences, I believe. Huh. I'm pretty sure. Maybe if we go to edit. Okay, so I guess I don't know how to use hotkeys. There's a way to find them. I just hadn't. Find hotkeys. Is that under the help dialog? These are mostly useful, and you can define them yourself in these little menus. I use weld a lot, so I usually define it to T or something, but I don't have it defined right now because I haven't been using it, or I haven't had time. You can And you can unhide. There's yeah, so that's the basic rundown of the interface. Yeah, just toy around with it, try to figure out anything else. If there's any questions that I didn't answer, feel free to hit me up. I'm not gonna be doing anything. Hideous. Freaking modern art right there. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any other questions, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Subscribe to help, you know, help me out, give me some motivation, things like that. Alright, this has been Super Ninja Man, and